Hi there everybody, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So Sloppy Saturday continues. I love it. I just went outside. This is kind of a continuation, except not really if you haven't watched any other video or didn't see the previous video. I just went outside with my dog to let him do his business, but we were at 70 degrees yesterday with our weather here in Colorado, and today it has decided that it's sleeting, snowing, snotting, doing something weird and hovering in, like the 20s. So when I went outside, I was really brought into the awareness, read the room, read the whole room, the universal room, read the 5D room, man, you're going to find out some juicy stuff here, that the weather cannot seem to quite understand itself or know what it's doing. That's what it's representing to me. Mother Nature knows exactly what she's doing, and I'm not questioning that for real. I'm looking at the metaphysical meaning of what is this? We were warm yesterday, even hot by comparison to today. And today, we're crying, we're freezing, we're doing all kinds of stuff here. We're raining, we're snotty, we're slobbery, what is this? And the video that I just made a few minutes ago had to do with setting boundaries with people and just saying, no, that's not the standard that I live at. That if you want to join me in my life, I have a certain standard, and I would expect you to have a standard too, that I would need to meet. And I don't mean an unreasonable one. I mean that we're principled, people that are living in integrity and living in authenticity, and that we understand our divinity and we're respectful. If we know all of that, the rest of the details of that's really not hard to navigate. It really isn't. We get into problems when we have relationships with people that are highly dysfunctional and toxic and things, and we ourselves are that, or we wouldn't be participating in it if we were not, part of it. However, when we finally, really get it that, yeah, I gotta bug up out of here, it upsets people and it causes confusion, chaos, and which is where we are cosmologically. Welcome to the cosmology and the astrology of what's happening here on the planet. We're moving out of the age of the age of Pisces. Things are breaking down and we're needing to rebuild stuff into that age of Aquarius. And so when I went outside and I was just getting the whole idea of, yeah, we were hot and cold, we've just been bouncing around for a while now in our weather, in the atmosphere where I actually live in Colorado Springs. It's been so demonstrated to me in the natural world and in the weather phenomenon. There's also been fires, actual fires. Things are just, torching everywhere. I'm like, wow. And it connects in my 5D experience, in my astral experience, my lucid dreaming experience. It connects for me with people, in my past, or situations in my past that were very explosive. They were hot and cold. They were sloppy. Just a lot of stuff, and I can hear things and okay, so what am I supposed to do with all this? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Just observe that. Jump in when I need to, when I know to, I do, and I work, the energy within me, no matter what happens to anybody else or no matter else what I do. I definitely need to be balancing the energy in me so that I'm not going through all of these, really bipolar experiences where I'm just raging, mad on fire, crackling and sizzling, and right there on the edge of, that I explode. And then I'm also not just crying and, carrying on and being jerked through all of these experiences without understanding what's happening or preventing it from happening. If I don't need to do all of that, if I don't have to have all of this, if I'm having it, I need to get control of it. But if I don't have to have that, then I can avoid that, then I'm going to avoid it. Sometimes, yes, I'm going to need to express my anger, and I'm definitely going to need to cry, and I'm going to need to feel sad and all that other stuff. However, bouncing around, with all the different opportunities that other people might be going through, that's where we get jerked through a knothole sometimes of, yeah, I don't need to go through that with you. I couldn't possibly. Just because I'm an empath doesn't mean that I want to pick up everybody else's, bouncing around emotional lability thing that's going on. I need to deal with my own, and so regulate those emotions very carefully in those experiences astrally and in that lucid dreaming state. Regulate those experiences very carefully by working with, is this even mine, before it catches hold of me and I'm on fire and needing to put out a 3,000 acre fire within me. It's much harder to get that when the pony's already left the barn. Shit, that one's going to be a lot harder to capture, so let's prevent this. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that there was some confusion when I went downstairs. I felt like it was real slippery going down the stairs. Slippery, okay. Slippery, like there's slippery understanding and kind of some slick ideas and stuff and snotty ideas, like, oh, greasy, you know, that people can really say some things that sound really inviting and sound really interesting, and yet there's just this kind of chaotic weather pattern that's literally changing as my dog's just going to the bathroom. We're outside for probably less than 15 minutes, and it went from being, you know, this really fierce wind to the sun was shining, then it's overcast, now it's raining, now it's, you know, a little bit of hail or snow or, you know, whatever, sleet, whatever it is, like all of this in a matter of like 15 minutes, you know. And so what I got is that sometimes whenever I've had conversations with people, it left them in a state of confusion. And I don't often talk about having regrets because I've done what I've done. And if I feel like I regret what I did, like spend a lot of time in that, then that has the opportunity to collect a lot of guilt or shame or, you know, stuff that, that's going to slow me down. I need to be accountable all day, every day for everything I've ever done, whether it was good or bad, whether it was received on the other side as something good or bad, you know, really isn't mine to own. It's that, how do I feel about what I did, and get a real close inventory of what was that interaction like, and what's my part in this, and how did I cause harm, and take accountability and responsibility for it. I can't take accountability or responsibility for anyone else or what they've done. And that's what codependency asks us to do, is carry the burden for you, you know, that you want me to carry the burden for you, or I want you to carry the burden for me. That is the toxic cycle of codependency and what we're pulling out of, and why people are so confused and slippery and getting real interesting in their conversation, or they're on fire, or, you know, they're confused and kind of swatting around a bunch of weird ideas, is that when we put down firm boundaries, it's necessary to put down the firm boundary. But what I hear with people that, you know, I really would love to see, just, you know, maybe consider this also while you're thinking about things in your spirituality and in your 5D as pertains to 3D. Consider that when we say, you know, I slammed a door, I have a boundary, and no way, I'm never letting that, you know, in again, and no way, I have done that with a couple of people. And a couple of people, I don't talk to anybody from my past, no one from my past. A couple of those people, I said, you know, when you figure this out, let me know. Here's my number. You'll always be able to reach me if you want to. And so far, it's a no-go. Other people, it's still a no-go. But I slammed the door and said, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm done. You know, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm done with you, you know, based on some pretty awful behavior. I mean, it was pretty cheeky and awful behavior, you know, that was not acceptable. None of it was acceptable. It's just that if I was going to talk in regrets, I'm going to speak about the accountability of how I slammed doors in some people's faces and said, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I'm done with you. You've just reached my tolerance for, you know, no effing way. You know, don't ever come my way again. And if I was going to own accountability and even hint at having some regret about that accountability and responsibility of how I ended that, I would say, not that I put the boundary of go the F away, I'm done with this. It would be to say, I do kind of wish, I do absolutely wish, actually, let me get real honest about that ish, that I do wish that I had been at a place where I could say, look, I don't want to talk to you anymore, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore unless you can pull your head right up out of your, you know what, and come with something more than what you've been bringing to me. When you're ready to take accountability, then perhaps, however, I don't see that happening anytime soon, and it doesn't matter whether it does or doesn't. I'm not going to talk to you about this anymore, because I'm done. I've reached my fry level and my die level. No, I'm calling the code on this. It's a terminal illness here that no, somebody's got to call the code, because this doesn't have any salvageability at this level of non-accountability. When you're ready to talk about this, which is what I said to the couple of people that I did leave it with them, that when you're ready to talk about this and take accountability for your side and hold me accountable for my side, because I can't only guess, you know, about what I've done to you. I can only guess about how that feels for you. I see that you're very upset and you're angry and all kinds of things, and rightfully so. We're entitled to have all the feelings we have. However, the entitlement does not extend, despite being mother, daughter, sister, brother, uncle, you know, whatever we are to people. The entitlement does not extend to say, and because you're that, you owe me, or, that there's something that even a husband or whatever, a lover, any kind of tight relationship, we do not owe anyone anything, and they do not owe us anything. And so with those conversations where I slammed doors hard and said, you can F off now, and keep effing off, I don't ever want to talk to you again. I meant it at the time, and I still mean that in terms of, if you're still coming on that same bullshit, then that door is always closed, because that's a tunnel of reality that I'm not jumping down into that mess because it's still toxic. That's a vibration that's down here. The minimum standard for conversation is that we all have to take accountability for our own selves, our own lives, and what we're doing with said things. And we need to take accountability for what we've already done, which means that I bring to the table my hurt or my grievance with you, and you bring yours with me, and we're respectful and all grown up about that conversation, or we aren't having it. Because the idea of going and just batting back and forth accountability, responsibility, and toxicity means that, well, you did this, and it turns into the tit for tat stuff where, you see it in the political arena. It's nauseating and frustrating, because people start talking about stuff that we're not talking about, that we're talking about this. And when we get to the part of the conversation where you get to, air your grievances, perhaps that's when that'd come up. However, right now, Buttercup, I want to be talking about this right here. And we do that, or people do that because the diversionary tactic has worked. However, it's not working anymore. We got too many people that are clued into, what are you doing again? Oh yeah, you're bullshitting and gaslighting, and I just don't do that. The problem, though, is that when we slam the door and say, absolutely 1111, no more, we mean to say, more authentically, I mean to say, I'm shutting this door on this reality right here, on this frequency. And should you choose to ever get somewhere else with that and come to me correct and come more authentically, come more in your divinity of understanding, we both have accountability in this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been in some sort of weird entanglement to begin with. And how much each side has and who has more, that's back to that tit for tat stuff that, yeah, we're not doing that. Then it means that I take the pride, bing and bang on my ego of, okay, or the hurt or the shame or whatever it is that I know I hurt someone. That's going to bring up a whole lot of emotion in me, I'm sure, and it does. However, I can't expect to throw it back out there as a counterattack for, well, you did this to me. That doesn't do anything to the frequency except keep it lodged in that low vibe and stuff that doesn't heal anything at all. It just keeps it right there playing tag back and forth in an area where this is laser tag, and this is just stupid. Nobody's winning or losing anything for real. We're just hitting back and forth with a waste of time. This isn't a recreational activity that I care to engage in any longer, even though a lot of people do. It's not fun to me. This isn't recreation. This is harming me, and it's harming you, and it's supporting the idea that that's how we get this job done, or that we change the whole paradigm. The paradigm has shifted, and if we're going to go along with it, it really would serve us better, serve me better, and I think other people too. However, it's not widely accepted that, no, I shut that door, I don't want anything to do with them. That when I say, look, let me know if you ever want to have a conversation where we can both come correct to each other, because right now that isn't happening, and I'm not going to talk to you unless that happens. So, the thing that I can do is walk away respecting you, and respecting what you're doing, is your choice and your path. However, not respecting the idea that you want to be abusive to me. I'm not going to give you any validity or any traction on that. You're going to have to go away now. Should you care to do something different, then let me know. You know how to get a hold of me. And in those places where I absolutely cut people off, unfortunately what that does, the strategy's poor on it, really, that it leaves those people with the opportunity to sit around in their self-righteousness a little bit longer and go, well, she wouldn't accept my apology anyway. She wouldn't, it gives them the opportunity to sidestep what the reality is, which is that person stepped away from me because there was something about me that her feedback to me was that I was so toxic or so abusive that she could not stand me any longer or stand to be in my vicinity. And I can either take that like, a spiritually mature mature person or a grown-up, or however I want to identify that, wow, there was something I did that this person that I, loved and had in my life for all these years and claimed to love, and loved in a very different way than she was okay playing with anymore. That what are my priorities here? Do I want to look at this and say the relationship is more valuable for me to look at what's inside of me that would have made that person say that to me? It doesn't automatically mean that people are correct on the other side of a conversation like that. I'm just saying that if the people I specifically just slammed doors with, rather than look at that and be able to say, I wonder what it is that made her step away, I didn't give that opportunity other than, I'm done with you. This has reached a level of just dumb shit that I can't deal with it anymore. And I'm not going to, because it's just too toxic. And I got other things to do, like survive this whole event. I got to get on with this, and move on. It leaves the opportunity to really sit around believing that she told me to F off and, how dare she? And it never really leaves that toehold open of the accountability is for you to decide when you're willing to put down the knives and the swords and everything else, all the weapons of mass destruction. It turns into, a self-destruction. However, it doesn't quite always spur the most rapid response with, she left the door open for me, that if I wanted to have a conversation, if I wanted to bring the truth, if I wanted to know more about, why this has been severed, I could. However, because I slammed the door and said, no more, I don't want it anymore. Don't ever call me anymore, and don't ever talk to me anymore. And then moved out of the state, changed my number, and, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. The truth is that those people know how they could get a hold of me. However, I didn't give them that opportunity. And so there's too much of a chance to sit back on our little haunches with when people do that, to be able to sit back on our haunches and go, see, she wouldn't take my apology anyway, she's just mean, she's just this, she's just that, which is not going to help a spiritual evolution happen very quickly or very effectively or at all if we really stay stuck down there playing stupid ball with ourselves. Because I'm not there punishing them or sending, hate mail and saying, why haven't you done this to me? I really did mean, I'm leaving. I've got to go, and literally just cut all this off. This is a shit show and I got to go. I'm out of here. I really can't survive this physically. It's killing me and I have to go. And I did. But if I was going to, admit where I've had regret about something, that no, I really do regret that left those people with the opportunity to really believe that they have a leg to stand on. And in that you have gripes with me, that's fine. And I don't have a leg to stand on that I don't, have accountability. I'm not claiming that I do. However, if I close the door and leave you with that, then I've given you all kinds of little peg legs to, store up and shore up inside of you, believing that, somehow self-righteous indignation is necessary and is a good thing, that, yeah, it's okay, that she just wouldn't talk to me anyway. She said she never wanted to see me, and it keeps that victim state perpetuating itself. Whereas if we leave people that your victimhood, if you're choosing that by saying she wouldn't talk to me, if I just leave the door open and say, I'm not going to talk to you under these circumstances, should you change your mind, you can reach out to me, you know how to do that. That takes away the victimhood stance by giving options. The other people, I didn't give them options, and they were already in a victim state anyway, and so it gave them a chance to hang out there even more. And at this point in the game, I've prayed about it quite a bit. At this point in the game, the strategy is not to go back and try to unask that, because those aren't the people to be playing with their emotions like that. Excuse me. Yeah. Throat chakra, they're already vulnerable, they're already volatile, and the mood lability thing is like, wow, no. And so it would be more damaging for me to go back and try to say, look, I know that was harsh, I'm not, all of that, because they wouldn't hear what the lead up conversations were to that terminal conversation of get the hell away from me. They weren't listening to those conversations. It's very likely that they wouldn't listen to a conversation where I went back and said, look, I'm sorry for the way I ended that. Should you change your mind? That would probably open up a wound. That's the downloads I get, is just leave it alone. That, that's when you're going to have to just trust the hands of your team and in the hands of the creator to just move that off. And if it ever comes flying in towards you, then you'll know it's not going to be allowed to come in unless it's something for you, no matter what it is. And that kind of karmic cycle coming to an end with huge timelines, and huge, very global stuff that's happening too. Don't mess with that, boo. Just leave it alone. And it's brought a lot of opportunity for me to see where, I would refine my, I have refined refined my strategy by going through situations where, yeah, that really probably wasn't the most finesse that I could offer that situation. However, it was the best way that I could offer up the finesse that I had, which was go away, and not do something nasty, not steal something, not spit on them, not, hit them, or, take something from them, or dirty their name by, lying about them or anything. I didn't need to. There was already a lot of stuff going on there. I just needed to say, look, whatever all that is, I don't really understand it, and I still don't. However, I don't have to be there to try to understand why they do or don't. Why did this happen? I don't have to. I just need to know that if it's not coming towards you, then it isn't for you. And it left less of an opportunity for that to really happen in any timely fashion if it was going to, and I have no guarantee of what way that was going to go, because everybody has free will. By slamming the door, I really cut short the opportunity that they would be able to understand that more quickly if they were going to understand that. So as I move away from people, I don't engage with people now and get into those deep-seated, karmic cycles and stuff anymore. So it's, pretty easy at this point to cut stuff off that I don't even know you, then I'm not going to, if I already know that that's a, just a dysfunctional thing in the making. But if I did have to say, I got to go away, I'm a lot clearer with people that here are my boundaries. And, should you, decide you want to do something different with that, let me know. However, those people in the past, I wasn't there. So we are where we are. And the more we leave opportunities open for people rather than say, I don't want that old person back, I don't want this, that's part of the process of healing, is being able to set those boundaries of, I absolutely don't want any butthole back in my life in any form whatsoever. So I get it. It's just that that butthole might still be showing up in other forms for us to get to the point where, oh, the boundary is that I just don't do that. However, I don't have to, hate anybody or shut the door so far that to me demonstrates a little bit of fear that someone would come near me and possibly disrupt my world, or I've got to protect myself if someone from my past calls me or sends their dark energy my way or something. And it's quite possible people do that stuff all the time, and we have stalkers and people who do all kinds of weird stuff. Yep, in my life and yours probably somewhere. It doesn't have to be frightening, because the more powerful stance I can take is that it doesn't matter. The boundary is set that I don't play with darkness or dumb shit. I just don't. That's not what I do anymore. That's the standard. And if my team allows it anywhere near me, then that's something I need to deal with. That's something for me to heal within me, or it's something that I'm asked to bring forward my light or my work here, my alchemy, to bring some resolution to that. And so far, none of it has come forward. So even those that have had the open door extended to them, versus the ones that didn't, it didn't matter. But ultimately what I came to understand is that it doesn't matter who would come near me. If they're coming in on the right frequency, then we're both going to know that, and they're going to be allowed to come correct and come in, because I don't deal with people that are elusive or dark or playing games, that aren't coming correct. Then, and I don't have to do a whole lot to detect that. People are just kind of falling apart, and they're showing who and what they are. And I don't have to be cruel or slam a door and say, get away from me, fool. I don't ever want to, when I'm doing things like that, I find I get more of an opportunity to deal with that, with more grace and more finesse. So that's all I really wanted to say about that. I know that that's a very different standard than a lot of people put for themselves, that I don't want anybody from the past. My standard is I don't want any bullshit from the past. It doesn't matter. What kind of a great love story would that be, to be so in love with ourselves and divinity that it doesn't matter who came after me, if it was somebody that hurt me deeply or not. If you're coming correct, then hallelujah. You found your spot. You went to divinity and found where you belong, that we could be standing in the same vicinity and, be in a completely different place with that. It's just, I don't put a whole lot of attachment on that. I don't put any expectation on that, because I can't. If I'm not going to put an expectation on that person, then I'm not going to put an expectation on myself. If I'm not putting an expectation on myself, then I can't put an expectation out there. If I'm living in the moment and listening to spirit, that, what is for me, and what is not will not come near me. And whatever is coming kind of weird, it needs something. It either needs me to pay attention to me of what's in me that's getting bothered by this, or it needs me to set the boundary of, oh, no, lost soul, this isn't where you belong. Time for you to go now, with as little, biting, snarking, or anything like that necessary. It goes at the level of however it's coming at me. If it's oozing in kind of slick and weird, slippery, no thank you, friend. Go away. If it's coming in hard and nasty, well, that gets a little more involved. However, I don't have those engagements, with people anymore like that, because the standard is set. I expect more from myself. Then that means I expect more from you. If I'm not taking that kind of horse shit off myself, then I'm not going to take that kind of horse shit off you either. And when you figure out that you need a better standard of behavior for yourself, then you'll have a better standard of behavior for me, and whoever reaches that first can look like the real biatch when they say, I can't do this anymore. And when we're still playing in that boxing ring, man, that's just brutal. I hated it. I could never figure out, like, this just feels terrible. I don't like, having these really horrible thoughts about people. I got to get out of here. And it really was the difference between finding that joy in my life again, that I'm not a hateful person. I don't harbor resentment for the people themselves. I really dislike and cannot stand the behaviors that we were all exhibiting. However, I don't hate the people themselves, but it doesn't mean that just because I love someone passionately, it doesn't mean that I'm going to put up with their nasty energy or their terrible behavior towards me, nor does it mean that they should be putting up with it from me. That's the whole energy and the paradigm shift of getting out of the age of Pisces, that we don't do that anymore. The new age of Aquarius and, new earth energies, is that can't be part of it. That's a whole, line of thinking, that when we're both understanding that this is about loving the person that we are and tweaking those behaviors. And if we're not ready to really adopt the understanding that it's okay if people give us critiques or feedback of our behavior. However, if they're abusing us and, trying to stab us with it, that's not what that is. That's called codependency and the bullshit of an old paradigm. Critiquing and feedback is, there's a non-emotion in it, but there's a lot of attachment to people and what they should be doing. And that's where it turns into a huge old problem, because our emotions get involved, and then we're all over the place with, fire, wind, water, we got every element going all at the same time. And it's winding, it's blowing, it's snowing, it's sleeting, it's sleeting, it's, raining, it's on fire. I mean, how do you have a fire warning and sleet at the same time? Ask people that are kind of out of their mind how they're having all these, I hate you, I love you, and I just want to kill you, but I want to kiss you, and I want to, hug you and stab you, and it's normal. It's the norm for what people are going through. However, it's still, when we give them the opportunity to really self-reflect on all of that, and I'm going to go self-reflect on all of me, because I'm not saying that I don't have it. I'm just saying that this is we need to separate this out and slam last doors. Putting a boundary up is a boundary. However, saying you can never, cross the gun zone, I don't know. I'm willing to have a little more play with my boundary as my boundary. However, it doesn't have to be the gun zone unless you get it right there. So anyway, I hope that's helped you in some way, and I hope you enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you're in. And remember, get within your skin, because you're divine. It's so fine, and it is so balanced and understands boundaries already just fine. And it can guide you. It can show you. The more that we get in touch with that, and speak to God, speak to divinity of, how can I do this? How can I balance this? So that any door that I have slammed and been very hard line on, can I possibly look at my behavior there? Not necessarily committing to, I'm going to open a door. I choose not to. However, going back to the after action review of how might I have done that better, because I can always do something better. No matter how high vibing, I might have been, I still can always tweak something. I promise you, friends. So it's about being able to, can I critique enough? Am I out of my guilt and shame and out of all that, toxicity, that I can, put my ego aside and say, how could I have done that better, and take accountability for places where I botched it, or where I didn't do as good a job as I could have, and all that other stuff, without letting other people have a vote in it. They don't get one unless they're willing to come correct and tell me about it in that non-emotional, chaotic, sleet, snur, all that other booger stuff that kind of hard to see through that. Let's get right to the clean and clear of it. So anyway, as I said, get within your skin and enjoy your day, and enjoy your divine, because your divine, is so beautiful, so clean and clear, gorgeous, and totally fine. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye, my beautiful friends. Mwah! Bye-bye.